The schus of our learning should be a panacea and the refuah shlema for everyone that needs. We're going to start. Chof Daled Amud Bey is about 10 lines from the bottom. I mean, there's a Hagoy Sabach there. There's a little aleph. It says Lama Mefaisen. Why do they do the lottery? Why do they do the lottery to choose who's going to get the job of the Trumas Hadeshin? The Gemara says Lama Mefaisen. That's the way Jews answer a question. They ask a question. What do you mean? What Lama Mefaisen? What are you even asking? Kedamran. We said in the Mishnah we started with another approach. What was the other approach? They would have a race and people got hurt. Why do we do several piyusim? Why do we do several lotteries? I guess we could do one lottery, and from that we could count out everyone else. So the Gemara says, well, what we want to do is we want to make a commotion in the Azara. So we want to have like these big events. Everyone gathers together and they do this, and it's like it makes excitement. That together they took sweet counsel, or secrets counsel, and in the house of Hashem they walked with a commotion, v'ragesh, with a commotion. So that means we like to make commotions in the Beis Hamikdash to show that there's activity. And now it says, Bameh Mefaisen. With what did they do the lottery? The Gemara's question here is, how were they dressed? Yeah, so in the yeshiva they give out coffee and cake in the morning. So there's a machlekes amongst the bachrim if they can come down still in pajamas to get the coffee, and the dorm is upstairs. If they come down in pajamas to get the coffee and cake and then go back upstairs to get dressed, or they're supposed to come down dressed and then they don't have to. Then they don't have to go back up. It's easier. So here we have something similar. We have Rav Nachman Amar Big Day Chol, Rav Shesam Big Day Kodesh. Rav Nachman says that the piyus is done in Big Day Chol. It's not in the what's it called? Big Day Sharis, in the garments that are used for serving in the Beis Hamikdash. This is Big Day Chol. Rav Shesha says no, Big Day Kodesh. So they're already dressed for the service. Yeah, the way to remember this is the chol, the ches of the chol is in the word Nachman. And then the shin of Kodesh is in the word She. Shabbos Kodesh, two shins in Rav Shesha's. Okay, it's just the way to remember. So Rav Nachman Amar B'Big Day Chol, he says that they wear regular mundane clothes and others private personal clothes. Divi Big Day Kodesh, if they would wear the holy clothing when they're doing the lottery, Ikabal Israyas, the Chamsi Vavdi. This is terrible. There may be someone there that loses the lottery and just shows up and is going to do it anyway. He's already dressed. They say, just let me do a little bit over here. I'm just going to assist. I'm ready. Rav Shesha says, I'm a Big Day Kodesh. Rav Shesha says, no, the other way. The Iyam Big Day Chol, if we say that you're going to wear the regular clothes, no, the guy's going to show up wearing his Big Day Chol. He's going to be doing the Avodah. He's going to be so excited. He's going to be doing the Avodah with his Big Day Chol on. He doesn't want to lose his spot. They chose him. He's going to quickly rush and do it and do the service. You hear the two sides? It's very interesting. It's like a psychology machlekes. Amar Rav Nachman, Mino Aminallah. I'll bring you a proof that it's Big Day Chol. The Tanan, because it was taught in the Mishnah. Masin lachazanim. Chazanim were the shamish. What happens is after the lottery, they gave them over. The people went over to the chazanim, to the shamish. They would remove their clothing. I guess the chazanim would have them remove their clothing. They would only leave on them the pants. Okay. Well, what's going on over here? Who's changing their clothing? They already did the piyus. Someone's got to change their clothing. Rav Nachman says, "My love, b'ism shezachul l'fayis," on top of chafei. It must be the ones that won. They have to change their clothing. Why do they have to change their clothing? Because they were dressed in Big Day Chol, which is Rav Nachman Shita. They were dressed in Big Day Chol. Now they won the lottery. They have to change their clothing. Amar Rav Huna bar Yehuda, Amar Rav Sheshes. Rav Huna bar Yehuda says, in the name of Rav Sheshes, loy. It's not the pshat. It's not the pshat in the Mishnah. Ba'isen shelo yizachul l'fayis. It's the ones that did not win. Everyone, according to Rav Sheshes, everyone got dressed in the morning for the lottery. These guys can go back to sleep. They go get back into their regular clothes. I guess they didn't wear the big day kuna, the big day sharis, if they weren't doing the Avaida. These guys didn't win that to do the Avaida, so they put on other clothing. Yeah, if they were just eating the food, I would assume that they didn't need the... Is eating the food considered an Avaida? I don't think so. I mean, you're supposed to do it in Nazara and all of that, but they would be allowed to wear their regular clothing, I think. So, if they didn't have a specific job, so they went and changed their clothing. Hachinam mistabra. Rav Sheshes says it's got to be the way I'm saying. It has to be. Why? If you're going to tell me that the people that are now changing the clothing are just the people that won the lottery, so now let's take a look at what it said. They only left on them their pants. That means, what are the pants? The pants are their mundane clothing, their personal clothing. And they put on the big day kodesh, I guess the tunic they put on top, and the hat and the gartel, and then they would change the pants afterwards. Yeah? So if that's the case, Vatanya, we have a brayso, minayin shlo yadavar kedel nechnasayim. When a kohen gets dressed, he puts on his pants first. Here we're saying they would leave the pants on. If he's getting dressed in big day kahuna, then there's a problem here. Talmud Loimar, where do you know that the pants go first? The Michna Sevad Yu al Basarai, the Yilbash al Basarai, that you have to put on the pants first. That's what we learned from that pasuk. Okay, it's an interesting problem. Yeah. There was a Rabbi Gross here from Karastir, from Karastir Beis Medrash. So he said he one time saw the Rebbe getting dressed in the mikveh in the Karastir shul across the street. Remember from, I don't know if it's still there. Across from 770, Caddy Corner on the other side of Eastern Parkway. It was a Karastir mikveh. So Karastir Beis Medrash, downstairs was a mikveh. It was very dark in there, at least when I went. Anyway, apparently he saw the Rebbe getting dressed, and the Rebbe got dressed from the bottom up. So he asked his father that it says in Shulchan Aruch that you get dressed from the top, you start with the shirt, and you work your way down. So his father was the Karastir Rebbe. He said the Rebbe gets dressed like the Kohen Gadol, or maybe like the Kohanim. The Kohanim get dressed with the pants first, like it says over here. So that's not a Hira al-Rabbim. That's just the story. Okay, Ve'idach, and what would Rav Nachman say to that? That's a big problem. This is a big problem for Rav Nachman, because Rav Nachman says that he's getting dressed in the big day kodesh because he was wearing big day chol the whole time. And who's getting dressed? The one that won the lottery is now getting dressed to do the service. But why is he not putting on his pants first? Big day kodesh, the pants have to go on first. The idach, what does Rav Nachman say? Holy Kash, he says, no, you have to read this more carefully. Hachiktani, this is what it's saying. Ad sha'idam aleim big day chol. While he still has his regular weekday clothing on. Malbisha naisen michnasei kodesh, first they do is they take off the pants and they put on big day kodesh pants. By mafshisin naisen big day chol. Then they take off the top big dechol. When it says that they would only leave on him the pants, that means because he already changed the pants. He missed part of it. Oh. Yeah, they would wear probably more like the, like the Muslims dress. They have like a long shirt. They have like a long gown. We would call it like a nightgown or something, but they wear like the long white. So it's easy to change your pants when you're wearing that because it's sort of like you're in a bathroom. So they would first change the pants. Then when they would take off the top, they only left the pants on because they already had switched it. Yeah. So that's how Rav Nachman would explain it. Amar Rav Sheshes. Now, all of that was Rav Nachman quoting a Mishnah, and then Rav Sheshes saying how that Mishnah is no raya. Amar Rav Sheshes says, I'm going to tell you what my raya is from. The Tanya was taught in the Brisa. Lishkas Agazis Kamin Basiliki Gedayla Haisa. The Lishkas Agazis, the chamber of hewn stones, cut stones. This is where the Sanhedrin would sit. It was like a large basilica. Basilica, I think means a room. But really, it was a room that was made out of column. The ceiling was held up with columns, and apparently the center of it had a higher column than the sides. So it was a large basilica. And Pius b'Mizracha, the lottery was done. The choosing of who would get chosen to do the service, that was done on the eastern side. The eastern side is closer to the entrance of the Azara. The Zaken Yoshev b'Marava, and there's an elder that's sitting on the west side. Rashi says that this elder was a member of the Bezdin, and he was overseeing the lottery to make sure that it was done correctly. The Kayanim were standing there. B'chuliyar is some sort of some item that's a circle. I don't know if it's a bracelet or if it's a stone for something. Anyway, whatever it is, they're standing in a circle. Yeah, I saw in the Steinsaltz, he has a Greek word. He says it's not actually a circle, it's a spiral. And what's the advantage of a spiral over he has a picture of a snail there. What's the advantage of the spiral? He says the spiral would be harder to tell, to get how many people are there. It's harder to tell the number to guess of when it's going to reach you. In a circle, it could be easier to guess. The spiral is more confusing. Yeah. Isn't that interesting? So the Memuna comes and he takes the hat off one of them. That's a way of deciding where we're going to start the number. So someone's going to call out a number. It's possible that the Zakin is the one that actually calls out the number. And the Memuna, the Shamish, takes off the hats from one of them. The Zakin calls out the number. And then they start counting until they reach the number that it gets to. So when he takes off the hat, that's when he knows where it's going to start. Now, if you notice, we said here that you're going to take off the hat. If it's big dechal, according to Rav Nachman, they're not dressed in the garments. So mitznefes big dechal miyika, did they wear a mitznefes? Yeah, the Steinsaltz translates mitznefes as I think it's pronounced miter, a miter. Yeah, lahavdil, the bishops, they have like this big tall thing. It's called a miter. So did they have this fancy hat in Big Dechol? That a casquette? It wouldn't have been called a mitznefes. Okay, so would they have a mitznefes? Obviously, they're dressed in Big Kodesh. Rav Sheshes has a raya. Why from the hat? That's his raya. It says they took off the hat. So the Gemara says, you know what? They did have a hat. Kedetani Rav Yehuda v'Teimer Rav Shmuel bar Rav Yehuda Kayin sh'asta layimek kseinas Ovid ba Avedas Yachid. It's possible that they had personal clothing here. If the mother of the Kayin decided to make for her son clothing, so usually the clothing needed to come from the Beis Hamikdash. It came from that fund. However, a mother was allowed to make clothing for the son, and the son would wear it. But what would he wear it for? Well, he would wear it if he did a private offering. It was considered big dechal, but it was, so it's like this in the middle somewhere. It's the garments, the correct garments of a kohen that he can wear to do the service of a Avedas Yachid, but it's not considered big kodesh. So he's allowed to wear it for personal things as well. So here we're saying, are you asking, did he have a mitznefes? Of course he had a mitznefes. His mother made him everything that it was to wear, but it's still considered big dechal. He can wear it for personal things as well. Needed sweaters, yeah. So, okay. Amar Abaya. Abaya says, based on this, Shma mina lishkas agaz is chetzer b'kedesh v'chetzer b'chal. Shma mina shnei pesachim hayol echad pesach b'kedesh v'echad pesach b'chal. You know what? Abaya says, it's very obvious to me, based on this, that the lishkas agazis figured out 2 points. One is that there's 2 doors to the lishkas agazis. It didn't say that. Another point is that it was built in the wall, and half of the room was outside the Beis Hamikdash and half was inside the Beis Hamikdash. And there's a door on each side. Abaya says it's obvious that that's what's going on. Now Abaya is several hundred years later than the Beis Hamikdash, and but he's able to figure it out from that statement. How did he figure that out? He says the Isal Kedaitach Kula B'Kodesh. Let's say it was entirely in the Azara, this room. Zaken Yoshev Marava. Would we have an elder that was sitting? It says he's sitting. But the master taught, you're not allowed to sit in the Azara. Must be that it's halfway outside the Azara. So you'll say maybe the whole thing is outside. Maybe it's protruding outside the wall. And it's not inside at all. He says, well, Piyas b'Mizracha, they did the Piyas in the east, but we said we want commotions in the Beis Hamikdash. If it's outside, then it's not in the Beis Hamikdash. There has to be that it's in the Beis Hamikdash. Places asks over here, why are they doing it in a room? If you want commotions in the Beis Hamikdash, they should do it in the Beis Hamikdash proper, in the Azara. Let everyone see. Places gives 2 answers. One is they had to take off someone's hat. They didn't want to take off his hat in the Azara. Very, very chassidish. They have to walk around with the hat the whole day. Other thing is that because they were in a circle, someone's back was going to be to the Heichal. They want to have his back to the Heichal. So they would have to do a circle or a spiral in the room, not in the Azara proper. Okay. From this we see that obviously it's half and half. If you say that there's only one door, and so we have 2 options now. Is it the door to the inside, or is it how do you get in? Or is it the one door to the outside? So let's start with this. One door, you get to it from the inside. So Zaken Yoshev b'Marava v'Tanan alishkas abneis b'chol psuchas l'kedesh teichen kedesh. I have a problem. Any room, even if it's outside the wall, but if there's only one door and you get to it through the kedesh, so the holiness fills up the whole room. So how could you sit over there? You wouldn't be allowed to sit. So it must be that the door is to the outside. So let's say the door is to the outside. Now, Pius b'mizracha, but you said that you do the Pius, the lottery, on the eastern side. But if you say if the doors open to the outside, so the mundaneness, if there's such a thing, fills up the room, and it's not considered kaidesh. So we have to come out. It has to be that there's two doors. If I was able to figure out where the room was and how many doors there were, just based on that statement.
What happened when they
Yeah. So yeah, it's like the weather. There's a cold front and a hot front. They would have a marker on the floor or something that would tell you. They would tell you like where. Like in the base of Micah, it said there was a marker, either was in the wall or in the floor, that would tell you that past this side is outside the state line, right? They show you in there's oceans where the oceans meet, the mamish different colors.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know exactly. Let me see, like one is clear and one's mamish different colors. Okay.
It's like on a map.
Yeah, like on the map. Okay, now we're up to a Mishnah.
The ocean, different colors.
Oh yeah. Nice picture of that. I don't know if it's possible. I don't know what it was. It was like a sinkhole in the ocean, just a circle. And everything is like one color, and then this is like it just switches colors. Okay, Pius Hasheni, the second lottery. Remember, the first lottery was the Trumas Hadesh, and that was very early in the morning. The second one was the following. Dr. Stein was discussing this one. Mi Sheichet, who's going to Shech? Mi Zayrik, who's going to sprinkle the blood? We skipped 2 steps there. Who's going to catch the blood and who's going to walk it up to the altar? We skip. Okay, the Gemara will discuss at least one of them. Mi Medashin Mizbeach Apnimi. Who's going to take off the ashes from the inner altar? Yeah, apparently there is Dishin Mizbeach Apnimi. I don't know if that's called Truma Sadeshin. Is that called Truma Sadeshin, or is that just to clean? Mi Medashin Esa Menorah. Who's going to clean out the burnt wicks from the menorah? Mi Male Varim Lekevesh. Okay, now that's really an introduction to the following. Then you put a colon or semicolon on it. Who's going to bring the limbs up to the ram? Now we have to list which limbs we're talking about. Haroishva Regel, the head and the foot. That was number 1. We're going to have 9 items here. And before we started, we had 4. So we had shechting, sprinkling, cleaning the inner altar, and the menorah. That's 4. Now we're going to have a list of 9, which would be 13. No, altogether, right? So the first one is the head and the foot, the right foot. Shtei yadayim is the 2 forelegs. V'oketz v'regel, the tail and the foot. We're up to number 3 already. The chazav v'ager, everyone's getting like 2 words here, each person. Chazav v'ager, the chest, and the gera is, I think, the neck, the throat. It has attached to it the heart and the lungs as well. Shtei defanis are the 2 sides of the animal. That sounds heavy. That's the 5th person. Kravayim is the insides. That was 6. Vasailes is this flower that has to come along with the tamid in Nisarin. It comes along, the meal offering that comes along. And then Vachavitin, that is the offering of the Kohen Gadol that comes in the morning and afternoon. And Vahayayin, we're up to number 9, is the wine. Yeah, you can remember. 9 is wine. 9 is So, that's 13 altogether. Amar ben Azai lefnei Rabbi Akiva mishum Rabbi Yeshua. Ben Azai says in front of Rabbi Akiva in the name of Rabbi Yeshua that derech hilucha yakarim, that it was walked up the way that the animal walks. So the head would go front. That would be the person in the front. And then we said that the tail and the leg is third. No, the tail and the leg is going to be 6. It's going to be at the end. That's how he switches the order. Okay. The Gemara asks, when it says that they would do the second piyus, the second lottery, would they do one lottery? Or would they do a bunch of lotteries now? Tashima, come and listen. I have a Mishnah that says they did 4 lotteries. If you're telling me that they had to do a lottery for each one, then it's 13 plus another bunch. It's not 4. And obviously this was one lottery. Then how exactly was it counted? The number would land on one kohen. He would be the first one to do the shechita. And then from him, either they would count the head 13, 12, another 12. They would count back another 12. I don't know which way. But whatever the case is, they didn't have to do an extra lottery, any extra lotteries, because when he was the winner, he took with him, following him or behind him would be the other ones.
Rabbi,
Yeah.
how did they come up with that original number? You said that
They made it up as a random number, yeah. I think the Zucking would announce the number.
he would just come up with it from his head?
Yeah. There couldn't be any reason for it, because then people would figure it out. It's the gematria of the day. People would know it already. See, I'm not standing in this spot,
Yeah, whoever got his hat taken off probably wasn't chosen right. Would the random number be 1? That wouldn't seem very random.
Oh, if I remember correctly, it had to be larger than a certain number. I don't remember. Yeah, they would choose a number larger than the amount of kainim, probably. That's what you're suggesting. That way it would have to go around.
Sorry, I lost the volume there, but it's okay.
No, it would have to be, they would choose a larger number than the kainim. Yeah. It also makes them feel good. At least they got counted.
Okay, got it.
So I didn't even get in the. Imagine, poor kainim didn't even reach me. Okay, so it seems like a good proof. However, Amar Rab Nachman Bar Yitzchak Kachi Kamar, it's not a good proof. What you're saying is that when it says there's 4 lotteries, that means that automatically that means that they only did 4 in total. They didn't do 1 for each of the 13. 1 second. Kachi Kamar. This is what it means. Arba pamim nechnasim lahafis. No, they gathered 4 times for the lottery. We're talking about the commotion that was made. But once they were there, they said, okay, we took care of this. Okay, now another number for the next one and another number for the next one. They would make a lottery for each one. Okay, that's a possibility. Tashma, Rabbi Yudar Melaya Yapayas Lamachta, Elakain Shazach Bikteris, Emelizesh Ima Zachemi B'machta. In the next Mishnah, you can see it on the next page on Chavav. There's a Mishnah over there that talks about the Ketairis. Now, the way the Ketairis was done was you had to get coals off the outer Mizbeah in a separate fire that was there. And you would bring it in to the Heichal. And then the person that would do the Ketairis would put the Ketairis over the coals. Someone had to get the coals. So that person wasn't chosen by the lottery. It was chosen by the person that he won the lottery to do the Ketairis. He would choose his friend, come get the coals for me. Okay, there's 2 ways of learning this Gemara, as we're going to see. But what we're seeing here is that what the Gemara is suggesting is that you do 1 lottery, and the other people are drawn along with the first person. The Gemara says, Shani machduk teres l'chad avodah. No, that's one avodah that's doing the ketores. So over there you only do one lottery, but in the other 13 you have to do 13 separate lotteries maybe. Ikadamri, that those that say dafka machduk teres l'chad avodah. Aval shar avodas by pius by pius. Yeah. Well, it was in the room, so probably. I made a mistake. So, some say that what the Gemara meant was, the Gemara meant to ask, is that you see, it's only by the Ketores that you have someone drawn along, but by everywhere else, you have to do separate lotteries. In other words, there's a raya from the Ketores that you don't do anything else like that. In other words, the original way of reading this is, you see, you just do one lottery and everyone else is drawn along. We said no. Ketores is different. Ketores only did one, but by the other ones they had to do separate lotteries. Now the Gemara is saying the opposite. You see, it's only by the Ketores that you do this. Obviously, everyone else is it has to do separate lotteries. The Gemara says no. Machtet tzrichale. By this, it was necessary to say that they only did one lottery, because I could have thought that you had to do it differently. Really, they never did separate lotteries. So why do you have to tell me by the Ketores that they did a separate that they didn't do a separate lottery? They never did a separate lottery for the other people. So no, I could have thought that by the Ketores that you had to do a separate lottery. Why? Because first of all, it's uncommon to have Ketores because it's only twice a day, and you can't bring it as a donation. Other sacrifices people could bring whenever they wanted. It could have been 100 a day. This is only twice a day, and also it makes the person rich. If you do the Ketores, you get rich. Yeah. So people would want to do this. We should have to do a separate lottery. So it tells me that I don't do a separate lottery. It's just like everything else. I don't do a separate lottery. Kamash Malan. Okay. Tashma. Yeah. It wasn't mentioned the stabbing by the Ketores. Yitzi is suggesting that the dangerous activity would have been running up the ramp to get the Ketores, to do the Ketores for that lottery. We didn't mention it by this. Okay, Tashima, the Tani Reb Chia taught, Reb Chia was the one that edited the Brises, right? He taught, Leilachal Aveda Vaveda Mafaisim Elakain Shazacha Betamid, Shnei Masrecha Vakainim Nimshachim Imai, Shmamina. Taught in a brisa that they didn't have separate lotteries. They only did one lottery, and 12 other kayanim were drawn along. Very clear, no? Can't get more clear than that. It says clearly that it was the people on to the side of this kayan that one would get it, to his right. Now, that's what Rashi said before, to his right. I don't know what that means. I don't know which way they were going. To the right sounds like clockwise. No, did they count clockwise or did they count counterclockwise? Let's say they counted clockwise. So then to his right would mean to his right would mean the ones that they didn't get to yet. Let's say the number was, I don't know, 80. So 80, so then 81, 82, 83, all of those till 93 would be the kayanim that would get to do the service. Okay, Pias Hasheni Chulu. The second lottery, the Gemara has a question. Who catches the blood? We skipped that when we learned the Mishnah. We mentioned we're skipping some services here. So the Gemara says it's unclear, but let's say could be Sheichet Makabel. The one that did the Shechita, he catches the blood also. Now he would have to drop the knife and because you can't use your left hand to do any avodah. So we would have to drop the knife and take up a bucket, a bowl. Di amrit zayruk makabel, because if you say that the one that catches the blood, I'm sorry, that the one that sprinkles the blood is the one that catches the blood. So agab chavivusi le makabel lekul adam. If he's supposed to do the sprinkling and he also catches the blood, we don't trust him that he's going to wait there till all the blood comes out. He's going to rush and let the blood continue spurting out. He's going to run to sprinkle the blood. So we don't want him to do the catching the blood. He's going to leave it and he won't do a complete job. Oidelma, or maybe it's the other way. Zayrik Makabel, the one that sprinkles the blood, he's the one that is standing there with the bowl catching it. The Amre Sheikhin Makabel, because if you say that the Sheikhat's going to catch the blood, well, Zimnin the Shachat Zar. It's not always a Kayan that does the Shchita. We don't want this to be set up in a way that it's not going to match, it's not going to fit. It could be a mistake that happens if you don't do it consistently. If the Sheikhat does it, then it may be a Zar, a Shchita Ksher B'Zar that we know. Remember with Shmuel, we learned that in Brachos. It says, V'Zarak HaKayan, it doesn't say V'Shachat HaKayan. That teaches me that Shchita Ksher B'Zar. Okay, Tashima, come and listen. You heard the question? We have a question. Is the Sheikhat the one that's catching the blood, or is the Zayrik the one that's catching the blood? Now, there's an interesting point over here. I think I saw it in Tosfos or something. Maybe I saw it in Rashi. I don't know where. I saw it somewhere that why didn't the Gemara suggest that the Sheikhat, just like the Zayrik, he may run away in middle of the Kabbalah to go sprinkle, and we didn't want that to happen. Maybe the Sheikhat is going to stop in middle of the Shechita to catch the blood. The Gemara didn't offer that suggestion. The Gemara just said that maybe it's going to be a Zar. Okay. Tashima, come and listen. Ben Katanas Yud Beis Dad Lakir Kadeshi Yud Beis Echav Akayin Vasukam Betam and Mekachim Yidem Raglim Bevasachas. The Mishnah says that there were certain people that gave contributions to the Beis Hamikdash that were very helpful. One of them was Ben Katan. He set up the sinks in the Beis Hamikdash, and that was very helpful. He set up. There used to be only two faucets. It was a basin that you could open the knob, but he said it. He made it up that there should be 12 faucets, so that they should be able to wash their hands all together. All the people that had to do the carbon tamid, 12 people. Now, why 12? There's supposed to be 13. The answer is that the sheikhet doesn't need to wash his hands because shchita ksher bizar. So it's not considered an avodah that needs the washing of the hands. Now, there's one little problem. If you tell me that the sheikhet needs to catch the blood, so the sheikhet does need to wash his hands. And you need 13 knobs, faucets. It's a good raya, the Gemara says. Obviously, the one that catches the one that sprinkles the blood is the one that catches the blood. Amalei Ravacha braid the Ravala Ravashi. Ravacha, the son of Rava, says to Ravashi, we learned this in the Mishnah. Shachad ha-sheichet v'kibel ha-makabel uvoloi lizrik shmamina. The sheichet shechs, the receiver receives and he goes to sprinkle. See? The one that sprinkles the blood receives. Okay. Omer Ben-Azzi l'fnei Rabbi Akiva. Ben-Azzi said in front of Rabbi Akiva that the way that they walked the limbs up to the Riyam was in a different order than the way that the Tanakama suggested. Said in the name of Rabbi Yeshua that it was the way the animal itself walks, with the head first, of course. Yeah. Yeah, the animals can't walk backwards. They had to make these complicated contraptions to be able to get animals to do work. They would walk in circles. If they would, they would check them.
I know, but I'm saying like
Oh yeah, they would have to clean it. There was a job of washing the insides out before they put it on the altar. Yeah, good point. Yeah. Okay. So Tanarabanan, Ketza Derech Hiluchai. What is the way that it walks? We have a bryce here. Haraish Regel, the head and the foot. Okay. Obviously, the main point here is the head. It's the right foot. Yeah, we're gonna ask later why is the foot coming with the head? It's a little strange, right? But the head was first, so we have the head. Okay. Chazav Agera. Okay, then you have the chest. That makes sense. Shtei Yadayim is the two front legs. Everything is good. Shtei Defanis, the two sides. So everything is good. It's for Regel. And then the tail and the leg, the back leg, the left leg. So okay, that's in order. They would actually walk it up not the way the animal would walk while it was alive, but the way in the order of how they would skin the animal. Now they would skin it from the feet. They would hang it up by the ankle, and they would pull the skin down over up until the base of shchita, all the way off. So Ketzad derech hafsheta. How would they do this? Hareish v'regel. Now the emphasis here is not the reish. The emphasis here is the regel. They would have to get the foot first, so they would do the regel. Now, yeah, it came along with the head. Okay, now you have the other foot, the other leg, the left one with the tail. Shtei defanis, the two sides. Shtei yadayim, the four legs. Chazav agera, the chest, and the head was already brought from before because it came with the left foot, with the right foot. Rabbi Kiva mederach nituchay hayakarim. Rabbi Kiva says no. The way that it was cut up when they would put it on the table, they would have to cut it. That's how it was brought up. Ketza derech nituchay. How was it cut? Hareish v'regel, the head and the foot. Shtei yadayim, the two hands. Notice that was the order of cutting it. Achazav agera, ushtei depanes uketz v'regel.
Didn't we have something about this earlier, some Gemara a few months ago? Similar to how we brought it, the Rosh and the Rega, we were trying to get the order of the bringing. Can't remember. Maybe
we did have this in Talmud. Talmud, we had this. We had this Mishnah.
I wonder which one it was following there.
Yeah, I don't remember. Yeah, we have to ask Yitzi. Yitzi Kasser. Rabbi Yossi Aglili Omer. It's very strange. The Brisa starts off with Rabbi Yossi. Then it goes to Rabbi Akiva. Then it goes to Rabbi Yossi Aglili. Yeah, it's strange. The order of importance. Rabbi Akiva would have been first. He had a friend and a student, Rabbi Yossi Aglili. Rabbi Yossi Aglili was not 100% a student. And then Rabbi Yossi was a student, Rabbi Yossi ben Chalaf. Yeah, so the order is a little strange. Rabbi Yossi Aglili Omer, derech iluya hayakariv. By importance, that's how it was brought. Ketzad derech iluya. What was the way that it was, what was considered important? So hareish v'regel, the head, of course, is important. And that would come with the foot. Hachazav agera, the chest. Shtei defanes, the two sides. Rukas v'regel, the tail and the left leg. Shtei yadayim, and then the two hands. The problem is, what we just did was we said that the shtei yadayim are coming at the end. We should have the the Gemara is going to ask that we should have the uketz v'haregel should come before. We should have the uketz v'haregel, the leg should come before the chazah and the gera. Why? Because we have a pasuk v'aksiv kol netech toiv yerech b'kasiv all the good slight cuts, the thigh and the shoulder, it means the thigh is more important than the shoulder. So that means that the ukitz for regel should have come before the chaser.
Real world resident.
Okay. The Gemara answers Ahu B'Chusha. That pasuk was only by a lean animal. So over there, we would say by a lean animal that the thigh at least has some fat, so that would go before the shoulder. But in an animal that's plump, so over there, the shoulder would be better than the thigh. Okay. Now it says, Amar Rava, Bein Tana Didan, Bein Rabbi Yosi, Basri Luya de Bisra Linan. According to our Tana, our Mishnah, and Rabbi Yosi, we go after the importance of the meat. Now the question is what we mean by that. Ma'arazal Basar Ivra de Bisra. One says that you go after the size of it, like its creation. Ma'arazal Basar Shamna de Bisra. The other one goes after its fat. The schmaltz. So it's size, quantity or quality. That's the question over here. So my timer. What's the reason? Oh, I'm sorry. My time salka regel bahadi resha. What was that reason that we were putting the head together with the foot? Wasn't that odd? So it says mishum deresha nafesh beyatzamis cover regel bahadi. The head is mainly bone, the skull. So there was nothing there, no real meat. So we put the leg together with it. The kuli alma mias reiskar resha minala. But everyone says that the head goes first, according to all of them. Why? Well, whichever way you started, you started from the front, you started from the back, you had the head and the foot. So that was. But why does the head go first always? And the tongue, right? Tongue. Right, with mustard. The Tanya, because we started in the Bryce, how do you know that the head and the fat come before all the other limbs? It says in the pasuk that the head and the foot and the fat are put on the altar. The problem is there's another pasuk where it also says the head, the cut up portions, the head and the foot. What is that? Why do I need two psukim to tell me this? Look at the Tanya. That's coming to teach me something else. How would you do this? It says, there was a piece of fat that they would put over the cut of the neck when they were carrying the head. They wouldn't have the head exposed, the cut of the Beis HaShchita exposed. So what they would do is they would take fat and they would put it over that, so it wasn't that, I guess, gruesome. Yeah. The fat, I guess, looked nicer than the Beis HaShchita. Okay, let's leave it here.
Thank you. Okay.
Have a good day. That's